Hi, everyone. It's me, Chris. That is, it's me. I'm going to wait a minute while people file in. And honestly, I'm going to shove some of this food. Look at this. Can you see that? Shove some of this food down the old gullet. Um, this is from Tropical Smoothie Cafe. That's good stuff. Hope everyone's doing well. This week has been crazy for me. I was in Charlotte, New York, Dallas, Richmond, and now here. All right, let me take one more bite. I will do it off camera because it's gross, but welcome. Happy Friday. Okay. Hi. The election is 11 days away. 11 days away. Holy cow. This is my live stream. I do it every Friday from 1 p.m. Eastern to around 2 p.m. Eastern, just depending on the questions we get. Today, we got two big things. We got Beyonce is doing an event with Kamala Harris in Houston tonight, 9:30, and Donald Trump is doing the Joe Rogan podcast. So fascinating. People have been asking me. I made a video on this morning. People said, like, who's going to win? I think right now, and I said this, see this pinky nail? I think right now I'd give a pinky nail edge to Donald Trump just because I think he has a little bit of polling momentum, but I still think Kamala Harris obviously could win. It's a 50-50 race. I mean, that's no one wants to hear that because they want to know who's going to win, but we don't know who's going to win. I mean, anyone who tells you they know who's going to win is not paying attention. So let's get started. A couple things. One, if you have not subscribed to my channel, I really hope you consider doing so. We are really trying to get up to 50,000 before the election. We got 11 days. I think we're at 46 and change. So I don't know if we can make it, but let's try. So if you haven't subscribed, this is your first time here, welcome. I hope you consider subscribing. If you like this sort of stuff, I mostly write, talk a little, but mostly write over at Substack, a newsletter that you can get emailed to you. From now until the election, it's totally free. If you want to subscribe, you can. It's $6 a month or $60 for the year, but you can subscribe for free and get all of my content between now and the election. That's at chriscillizza.substack.com, or just go to the Google machine and type in Chris Cillizza and Substack, Cillizza. What I always say on this chat is, I'm going to try and answer as many questions as I can, obviously. If you want to donate to me, not necessary, but very much appreciated. If you do donate, I will bump your question up to the top and make sure that I answer it. I think that's it with the prelims. Let's get started. Here we go. Dwight Baldwin. Dwight, thank you so much for the donation. Some states are saying it will take days to count ballots. How long do you think it will take to count the election? Let me say again, thank you for the donation and much appreciated, Dwight. So in 2020, which was not a particularly close election, Biden won by 7.5 or 8 million votes nationally, and he got 306 electoral votes. It took 4 days to call it. So the race was called on that Saturday. I think the election was November 3rd, so it was called November 7th. And again, that race wasn't that close. There were some states that were close. As I've said before, Georgia, Arizona, and Wisconsin, all within 20,000 votes. So that's why it took a little bit longer. But given what we've seen in the polling, if the polling is right, I think that we're in for something 4, 5, maybe even 6, 7 days. And that worries me, candidly, because I think into the waiting, Donald Trump will pour misinformation, right? He will suggest that this is evidence that the vote's being stolen from him, that something nefarious is going on. He will almost certainly have no proof of this, but he will say that. And so it worries me that it's probably going to take a while. I'd much rather have it be right and certain than have them have to reverse the media consortium that does this, have them have to reverse a call on a state or nationally. But I'm just concerned about Trump and what he's going to say and do. Yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't. Pocket Watch, thank you for the donation. Pocket Watch, I don't know if it's a he or a she, says, LSU at A&M, who wins? Will you be watching live? All of my in-laws are A&M people, every single one of them. Gig 'em. So yes, I will be watching live, and God, I hope A&M wins. All right. Um, let's see. Patrick Murray. Last week, someone asked if Trump was a fascist, and you said you're unsure. After this week, have you changed your mind? Man, because John Kelly, I guess, said that Trump is a fascist. I assume that's what you mean. I don't know. I'm just not. I'm not into the label thing. If you think Trump is dangerous, I get it. I think he is too. I think he would radically transform or try to radically transform American democracy. I think he has authoritarian leanings at a minimum. Um, but it's like, say the word, say it. And I'm just not going to do that. Human NC. Apparently, Republicans are courting the Amish vote in Pennsylvania. Do you think this could make a difference? I mean, so in 2020, I think Biden won Pennsylvania by, I've looked this up before. By the way, if you don't have this book and you like politics, you got to get it. Almanac of American Politics. The new one is out soon. I think Trump lost Pennsylvania by like 150,000, if memory serves, in 2020. Hold on. Let's see. Okay. 2020 presidential vote. Biden, 3,461,221. Trump, 3,379,55. Okay. So I'm wrong. He lost it by 81,000. Trump lost by. I'm not willing to say anything. The Amish vote included won't make a difference in the long run, or in the short run with Pennsylvania. Who knows, right? It's going to be close. The polling average here basically has the race tied. So yeah. Sam, hi, Chris. Since you were in Texas this week, I have to ask, what's your go-to barbecue order? Did you have barbecue while in Dallas? So my favorite, it's a chain, but my favorite one, just because I just so reliable, is Rudy's. There's one in College Station, which again, I have a family that's tied to A&M. I get lean brisket, sausage, beans, coleslaw, and then cherry cobbler. It's so bad for you, but so good. Julio J. Only 12 days until we get to hear King and Wolf remind us over and over again that Pennsylvania is a great commonwealth. Correct. Like Virginia and Massachusetts. Nostalgic American. Why are you glossing over the comments made by John Kelly about Trump and Hitler? If someone's own chief of staff is warning about a nominee, you shouldn't ignore it like you have been. I mean, I talked about it and wrote a whole thing about it on Substack. Like, I'm not ignoring it at all. I think that this should be a really big issue. But I'm telling you that I don't think it is, because I think people have it baked in about Donald Trump, that they're just like, well, that's Trump. At least the undecided. Yes, the Democratic base is up in arms about this. And I would say, honestly, rightly so. Why would John Kelly lie? I made a video about that. I don't understand when people say you're ignoring it. I literally made a video about it in which I said I believe John Kelly. And I wrote a ton on Substack. Yes, I think it should be a big issue. I'm not sure that the average undecided voter does. My job is not to tell you just what I think. It's to tell you what people are thinking and why they're thinking that way. Mike Witt. Mike, thank you for the donation. Gut feeling, Chris. I think she's going to win by more than the media is saying. Methinks there's a lot of secret Republican Harris voters. Absolutely possible. I think the whole kind of like silent Dobbs vote, which I've heard a lot about, Republican women who may not tell their husband or significant other that they're voting for a Democrat, but will because of Dobbs. Sure, absolutely. Sidebar on that. Look, I'm not saying Trump's going to win. I'm saying I'd put a fingernail on the scale for him today just based on what's out there. But I'm not saying he's going to win. It's close. Who the hell knows who's going to win? Maybe she does win overwhelmingly. Polling has been wrong in 2016 and 2020. It was more wrong in 2020 than it was in 2016. It was wrong in both cases in Trump's favor, in that it underestimated how much support he was going to get nationally in swing states. I don't know if that'll happen again. Maybe it'll underestimate her support. I mean, my job is to try to bring you the information, the facts, the data as much as I can, and say, here's what I think we know, but it's not conclusive. Otherwise, why would we hold the election? Whippoorwill, thank you so much for the donation. Hi, Chris. Given the climate of this election, do you fear, like I do, that there will be violence and riots by the losing side afterward? I do. I worry about civil unrest. I don't know about riots. I don't know about violence. I mean, I certainly obviously hope not. But yeah, I do, of course, worry about that. I think given what we saw on January 6th from some Trump supporters, I don't see how you could rule violence and unrest out. I will note, because Republicans have made this point to me, that when Trump won in 2016, there were protests in the streets afterward. I don't think they were violent. I'm sure someone could show me that there was like one violent. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm a conclusive, definitive source on this, but yeah, I worry a lot about that. But also because of what I talked about at the top, which is I don't think we're getting an answer on November 6th or November 5th or November 6th to all this. And the longer it goes, the more Trump will insist it's being stolen. And that worries me a lot because there's a lot of people who are going to believe him. DB, when Trump inevitably flees the country to avoid prosecution, will you send me a signed headshot saying I was right? DB, I love your consistency. DB makes a donation and asks that same question in every Friday live stream that we do. I mean, yes, if Harris wins and Trump loses, there's definitely the possibility that he goes to jail. I don't know if it's likely, but yes, it's a possibility, much higher possibility than if he wins. I don't have a headshot, so I can't sign one for you. I guess I could print something off the internet on glossy paper and sign it for you. I love your consistency, my friend. Thank you, DB. Justin Ziegler. Justin, thank you so much for your donation. In your last video, you mentioned how Republicans are getting out early and catching up to Democrats, but I haven't heard a lot of how many independents voted early so far. Any info on that? So, Justin, good question. And yes, I did a whole video on early vote yesterday. All the days run together. Here's the deal. And this is why early voting, you have to be really careful about drawing a lot of conclusions. And I really tried to hedge when I was talking about that because early vote is not over yet in most states. So 45 states have some form of early voting. Michigan starts this weekend. That'll be critical. A lot of those states do not register voters by party. So you don't even really know who's a Republican, who's a Democrat, and who's unaffiliated. You just know how many people vote. And you don't know, again, just because a registered Republican casts an early ballot, obviously you don't know that they're voting for Donald Trump. So I don't have good info on independents, but I will look into it, Justin, and thank you for the donation and the question. Okay, let's keep going. Cillizza fan, happy to report I'm no longer a Cillizza fan and will change my handle. Ouch. Ugh. Sorry if I did something, but if what I did was try to portray the election as honestly and authentically as I can, if you're a liberal and you don't like that I said I think maybe Donald Trump would have a fingernails edge advantage, you should change your handle, because my job isn't to tell you what you want to hear. My job is to do the best I can to tell you what I think is happening and admit I don't know what is happening. None of us do. Anyone who tells you they know what is happening, I won't swear, isn't telling you the truth. Sherry Zimmerman. Oh, okay, this will make me feel better. Chris, thank you for not being cable news. And come on, folks, let's move this kid to the big 50,000. Like, subscribe, please leave a comment. We know the drill. Yes, like, subscribe. Thank you, Sherry, for always reminding people. Look, we have 335 people on this, but we only have 52 thumbs ups. Come on, man. That's it. I'm eating this until we get 60. You don't want to hear me eat. Boom! 63. You don't want to hear me eat. I know. People are always like, it's disgusting. And I was like, man, I'm hungry. Thank you, everyone, for liking it. Matthew White. A few weeks ago, Harris was ahead in the polls, but now the momentum has shifted toward Trump. What factors contributed to the shift? It's such a slight shift. It's like a point, maybe. I mean, I do think things in the last 2.5 weeks have moved toward Trump by about a point, maybe a little less. So it's so hard to say, like, what did that? I will say Trump is ending on two messages in his campaign ads in swing states. One is an anti-trans message, basically saying that Kamala Harris supports giving transgender surgery to undocumented immigrants and prisoners. That's one. There's a audio of her talking on that one. The second one is her on The View saying, I wouldn't do anything differently than Joe Biden, which I told you when it happened was a really bad and dumb political thing for her to say. Really bad. Maybe that message is moving people. I don't know is the answer. I mean, when it's such a small margin, it's hard to know. Let's see. George Murillo. I'm a Cillizza fan. Thank you, George. And thank you for the donation. Well, George, I can tell you that handle, Cillizza fan, apparently is going to be open soon. So you can just go ahead and jump on that. Thanks, sir. War Nord. Thank you so much for that donation. Hi, Chris. Can you give a shout out to my brother, Hugh Jass? It's his first time voting this election. Yes. Also, I want to give a shout out to Seymour Butts. I know he's voting first time in this election too. Well done. Here's Dan W. As someone who is a moderate, General John Kelly's comments are what worry me. Trump's second term will start more like his last term. He doesn't have his A team anymore. Walk me off the ledge. I can't. That's 100% right. Donald Trump, if he's elected to a second term, will start where he ended. He will not try to court establishment Republicans. He will not try to be normal. And he did try to do that for about the first 2 years of his presidency. He won't do any of those things. And I think that should worry you, Dan, because you're right. There's not going to be John Kelly's and Rex Tillerson's and H.R. McMaster's and all those kind of people. They're not going to be around. Minnesota and whatnot. Thank you so much for the donation. Incredibly kind. I missed watching last week's stream live, so this is to say thank you for the kind words about Tribe Called Quest last week and shade to the Dave Matthews Band at the same time. Yes. So Tribe and Dave Matthews went into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, I think, this past weekend. Tribe is amazing. I can't believe they weren't in there already. Dave Matthews, come on, people. It's all the same song. Thanks, Minnesota and whatnot. I appreciate your donation. Let's see. Bubby Boy, I'm supposed to canvass tomorrow, but I'm a bit disheartened, hoping to prep tonight. Dude, go out and canvass. Trump, Harris, go get involved. That stuff is important. Don't get disheartened because today doesn't look as good as you want it to for whoever. Go get involved. Take part in democracy. Absolutely. Good for you. Let's see. Mike Witt. Mike, thanks again for the donation. Chris, please tell me we are finally getting rid of Ted Cruz. In Wisconsin, please tell me Tammy Baldwin is going to beat Hovde. That guy's a carpetbagger. I can't tell you either of those things. I think the Cruz race with Colin Allred is close. I think the problem is that Trump's going to win Texas. It looks by like 6 or 7. And it's going to be hard, I think, for Colin Allred to win if Trump wins Texas by 6 or 7. I can see Cruz winning by 2 or 3, but it's hard for me to see him losing, at least today, based on the top of the ticket. Eric Hovde in Wisconsin, it's close. Tell me who wins Wisconsin at the presidential level, and I'll probably tell you who wins at the Senate level. I wish I could give you more comfort, but I'm trying to be as honest with you as I can. Matt Davidson, Matt, thank you so much for the donation. I'm the guy who keeps predicting a Hawley surprise loss, and you keep poo-pooing it. If it turns out I'm right, will you come be a guest on my podcast? Absolutely. 100%. I'll be a guest on your podcast anyway. Just email me, CILLIZZAC@gmail.com. Anyone who wants to email me can. Always happy to talk to folks. Let's see. I am reading, looking. Joe D. Ramirez. I'm okay with less politics today. How about, is Jaden Daniels actually the best QB in the NFC East? And if so, how long until he tears up his knee so balance can be restored? I don't think we can say he's better than Jalen Hurts yet. And I don't think we can say he's better than Dak yet. Could he be? Absolutely. Fascinating, by the way, huge on talk radio here, sports talk radio. They're being very cagey about whether Jaden Daniels will play this weekend. They're playing the Bears. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, 1 versus 2 would be awesome storyline. But he hurt his ribs. He practiced today, just as an update. I'm like sports talk radio. Jaden Daniels practiced today. So we'll see. Let's go. Oh gosh, sorry. Every once in a while, the comments just jump like way down. So I'm just scrolling through here. By the way, if you have questions, ask them. Patrick Murray, hope your day is going good so far, Chris. It is. Thank you. I'm tired. It's been a long week, but I'm good. Missile 18, keep up the great work, Chris, and we love your insights. I got my whole family to subscribe. That is what I am talking about. Well done. Yes. Chuck Stevens, what do you make of the Musk-Russia connection as reported by the Wall Street Journal? Isn't it a bigger deal that Putin was asking him not to deploy Starlink over Taiwan as a favor to Xi? Yeah, I mean, look, Elon Musk is a private figure. So, I guess it's okay for him to talk to Russia. I mean, it's not illegal for him to talk to Russia. But, man, that would make me uneasy. And if you haven't read that story, Chuck, can you link to that story in there if you can? Because I totally agree. Let's see. Baltimore Dave, in either case, Harris or Trump, what is your prediction for cabinet positions? You mean who is everyone going to be? Dude, I can't do all the cabinet right away. So his chief of staff, Trump's chief of staff is Brooke Rollins, who runs the America First Policy Institute, Kevin McCarthy, potentially, and there's one other person I'm not remembering right now, but those are the names at least I've heard mentioned. Sam says no Starbucks today. Nope. This Tropical Smoothie Cafe, this was $12. So I think that's probably enough. And I'm back. Let's see. Byron Cease. My mom is voting for Trump. I'm voting for Harris. Both of us feel like the future of our country is on the line. Who's right and who's wrong? Oh my gosh. I don't know, man. It's so hard. The stakes get, I think, so exaggerated towards the end. I don't know who's right and who's wrong. I will tell you, though, what that made me think of as I was reading it was that great scene in Curb where Larry is in line. It's this long line to vote. And he's like, I'm voting for this guy. And the guy in front of him is like, I'm voting for that guy. And he's like, maybe we should just leave and we'll just cancel our votes out. And Larry's guy loses by 1 and finds out Larry didn't vote. So good. Mike Witt. Mike, continual thanks for the donation. Probably doesn't mean anything, but I was down in Madison, Wisconsin. That city is more fired up for this election than any election I can remember. Yeah, I mean, it does matter, right? I mean, Tammy Baldwin and Kamala Harris are going to have to take a ton of votes out of Madison if they're going to win that state. So, yeah. Let's see. MSU fan, give each battleground state to a candidate if you had to pick. Fun. Okay. Let me do the easy ones first. Arizona, Trump. Nevada, Harris, I don't know. North Carolina, Trump. Georgia, Trump. Michigan, Harris. Wisconsin, Harris. Pennsylvania. It always comes back to Pennsylvania. I guess Harris. And that would, if I did that, Harris would win. If Harris wins Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, she can lose the other 4 states as long as she wins Nebraska second, which I think she will. And she has 270 electoral votes. Yeah, God, that was hard. Good question, though. I don't know if I did it right. Let's see. Dwight Baldwin. Dwight, thank you again for the donation. Some states are saying it will wait. I read that one. I've already gone through some of these people. Dan W. That answer about John Kelly didn't make me feel better. Appreciate the conversation. Here's to calmer heads prevailing. Keep up the good work, man. Dan, I wish everyone thought like you. I agree. Calmer heads need to prevail. I always tell people, don't freak out at the end here. Like, go read a book or go for a walk. It's not getting freaking, assuming that everything is a mountain when most likely it's a molehill at the end. Yeah. Rich Adams. Hey, Chris, is there any way to know if pollsters' assumptions are correct? Do you think they are still underrepresenting Trump voters or that they have overcorrected or neither? I wish I knew. I tell you what I know is that in 2016 and 2020, they underrepresented Trump voters. They have insisted they have changed that. So maybe the pendulum is swung in the other way and they're overestimating Trump voters. I don't know. Chuck Stevens says, hit the like button. I agree. Ankeny Fanatic, what will be the most overused phrase in election night? I'm going to go with John King saying we have to remember that every vote matters. Or some politician saying the only vote that matters is the one on the election day. So brutal. Thoughts about Mark Vincent. Thoughts about Charlemagne the God saying there's an insane double standard between Harris and Trump. I don't know if there's a double. The standard for Trump is just so incredibly difficult. So I call it Three Stooges syndrome. So if you're old like me and you watch the Three Stooges, one of the bits that they did was they tried to walk through a door 3 abreast, and they would obviously, because it's 3 men, they would like get caught in the door, and then they get frustrated and poke each other in the eye and pull each other's nose, knock each other in the head, etc., etc. For me, so much of the Trump stuff is there are so many things he says and does on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, and has done forever, that it kind of gets stuck in the door. You never know exactly what to focus on. I mean, I was reminded, like, he tried to get Denmark to sell him Greenland. Was it Denmark? He tried to get someone to sell him Greenland. I had totally forgotten about that, but somebody reminded me about it. So I don't know if it's a double standard as much as it is. It's extremely difficult to cover Donald Trump, and the media still hasn't gotten it right. My default position with Trump is I try to go to the words he says in speeches, interviews, and that kind of thing, and go through them and fact check them and point out where he's right, where he's wrong, where he's exaggerating, give context. That's kind of been my solution, but that's one solution. That can't be the only solution, but that's how I've approached it. I don't know. Mike Witt, non-political statement. Mike, thank you for your donation. My Wisconsin Badgers are going to beat Penn State tomorrow. Chris, you and Carville are my favorite people in politics. Carville's the best. Carville turns 80, I think, today. I think today is Carville's birthday. And Mike, thank you as always for the donation. It's very, all the donations today, much appreciated. We go. Larry Thomas, is Trump being blackmailed by Putin? I mean, I have no evidence to think that's true. Andrew Justvig, why do you think these Senate races in the battlegrounds in North Carolina governor are more lopsided to the Democrats than in the presidential race? Well, North Carolina governor is because the Republican nominee referred to himself as a black Nazi while he was frequenting porn sites. So there's that. But to your question, the ones that jump out to me are Nevada and Arizona. So Ruben Gallego is beating Kerry Lake. I think he's going to win that race. And Jackie Rosen in Nevada is beating Sam Brown. And I don't totally know why, because I think the presidential races in both those states are really close. Michigan's a little less true. I think the Alyssa Slotkin, Mike Rogers race is a little closer than those Arizona and Nevada races. But still, I think Slotkin is winning by more than Harris is winning Michigan by. So I don't know, because the stat I always tell people, and again, stats are true up until they're not. But in 2016 and 2020, there were 69 Senate races on the ballot in those two elections. 68 of them, the candidate who won, the party that won the presidential race in the state, that party's candidate also won the Senate race. So we're sort of a parliamentary system at this point. People just vote for the team as opposed to the person. The only exception to that, the one out of those 69 was Susan Collins in Maine. She won in 2020 as a Republican. Joe Biden won Maine in 2020. Let's see. Dr. Always First, what state do you think Harris or Trump will be and should be campaigning in? Curious to hear both answers. I think they both should just go to Pennsylvania as much as possible. I just think if you tell me who wins Pennsylvania, I think we have a pretty good sense of who's going to win the election. So I would just spend more and more time in Pennsylvania. Warnord, I'm in Houston. I go to Rice. We'll be at the Harris event tonight. I mean, it's going to be something. Tom Beto, what are your thoughts on the Washington Post decision to not endorse a candidate? So, Tom, I just saw that. This is after the LA Times editorial board announced that they weren't going to endorse a candidate. I'm of mixed feelings. And this is kind of my first thought. So I want to think a little bit more about it. So first and foremost, editorial endorsements from what newspapers do not matter. Not the Washington Post, not the LA Times, not the New York Times, not any newspaper. Editorial boards, which are the people who do these endorsements, are a thing of the past. I know they exist. I think they are much more, they cause many more problems than they do good, in that people don't understand that the Washington Post editorial board has nothing to do with the reporters at the Washington Post. They're totally separate. People do not get that. And you can't convince them of it. Even though I work there, I can tell you 100% that is true. Do I think that? So, on the one hand, editorial boards are dumb and antiquated and need to go the way of the dodo. And they wouldn't make any difference who they endorsed anyway. But if you have one, which these places do, it seems to me odd that you're like, no, we're not going to endorse in the presidential race, because it's the most consequential race on the ballot. Like, if you're going to endorse in other races, of course you endorse in the presidential race. So I get it in terms of people's criticism of it, saying, oh, well, Bezos, who owns the Washington Post, and Patrick Soon-Shiong, who owns the LA Times, they don't want to get sideways with Trump if he wins and you've endorsed against him. I mean, he definitely will be vengeful and try to get you. I mean, I don't think there's any question about that. So I'm divided. Like, editorial boards and endorsements by newspapers are stupid and more trouble than they're worth. And if you have one, you can't, I don't think, say we're not endorsing the presidential race, because then what's the point of having one? I don't think we should have them. Bobby Boy, thank you for your donation. If I were to canvass tomorrow in Pennsylvania for Harris, what should I do to prepare? I was thinking of printing out articles and bringing notes. Yeah, I mean, I think you have to understand that the people who are undecided in Pennsylvania or anywhere else don't really want to be cajoled or yelled at. Like, how could you be voting for Donald Trump? It's gotta be fact-based. It's got to be like, these are the things he said. This is, or your personal experience. Here's why I think I've decided I'm going to vote for Harris or Trump. And, I'm not saying that should change your undecided voter's mind, but I wanted just to share my thoughts with you. That's what I would do. Speak from your heart. I don't think you ever go wrong there. Mike, how does the U.S. get back to a place where conventions are more normal? The misinformation point you've mentioned, safe transfer of power. Do you need legislation, and how would that work? Well, remember, they did pass the changes to the Electoral Count Act or Electoral Reform Act after 2020. So they have made some changes there. But we need to figure out that we have more in common than we have apart. We need to stop with the over-the-top rhetoric, and we need to get to realizing that, like, having civil conversations with people whom we disagree is the point and the key to how we get back. All right, let me take a bite. We have 488 people on this, but only 155 likes. How? Hold on. Okay, sorry. Didn't want to eat on thing, but I'm so hungry. Little Man 942. Hey, Chris. Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you. Do you think Harris's campaign changed with any significance post DNC? Well, they kind of subbed out you don't hear a ton about joy and optimism, which I thought was a really smart message, because Trump is so negative and so dark. I thought that was a good message. You don't hear as much about that. I think they should talk more. Hold on, my phone is ringing. I think they should talk more about abortion. She's doing this event in Houston tonight is about abortion, but I think it should be constant. Every event, abortion. So I don't know if it's changed, but we'll see. Wild Heart. I believe Harris will pick up at least what Biden won. Well, then she's president. She wins with over 300 electoral votes. They call me Blake. My kid just went off to college. What will you say to them if your kid decides to not go to your alma mater? Disowning them is on the table, right? Yes, of course. I mean, yeah. I mean, Georgetown, obviously. No, dude, I was just having this conversation with my mom yesterday, actually. Like, I don't know. I'm less obsessed with where they go to college. I just want them to be happy. I know a lot of people who went to these like amazing universities and they weren't happy, and they're not happy now. I just want them to be happy. Go to a place where you think you fit. Let's see. I'm going through. Noah Ouellette. Noah, that's a great last name. Ouellette. Thank you for the donation. If Harris gets exactly 270, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nebraska too, could Nebraska try again and change their law to deny Harris one electoral vote? Is it too late? I think it's too late. I think you can't retroactively change. They came within one vote in their unicameral state legislature, which they call the state Senate. They came within one vote. They had 32 votes. They needed 33 votes to change it to a winner-take-all state, and they didn't get it. So it could be one vote in the Nebraska legislature. That is the difference. Alex, do you think the Beyonce campaign stop will create enough buzz to shift momentum back to Harris? No. P. Colson 1. If Trump appears to have won, will the Harris campaign file legal challenges, and what will be the basis of the challenges? I mean, they do both sides have gigantic legal teams. I would assume the Harris people will file legal challenges if it's close. I mean, I guess I'd be surprised if they didn't. But I don't know what the basis of those challenges will be because we haven't seen what the votes are. Carl Frederick Oberg. If Harris loses at this moment, who do you think would be the most likely Democratic nominee in 2028? Josh Shapiro, Gretchen Whitmer. I think those two, if I had to choose, I would do. Because if she loses, she's probably going to lose because she didn't defend the blue wall, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. So there'll be a big focus on getting someone from Michigan, Wisconsin, or Pennsylvania on the ticket. Let's see. Robert New York. Kind of like Robert, California. Keep the questions coming, people, by the way. Hey, Chris, do you think the mainstream media helps push the division and hateful content? I don't think they push it. I mean, I know people will disagree with me. I mean, I just work in these places. I don't think they push it. No. I think the media is a really easy scapegoat because we don't fight back. We just kind of take it. But I don't. I mean, is it true that content that is either extremely pro-Trump or extremely anti-Trump does best? Yes. I've seen it on YouTube. I did a thing today, just as an example. I did a thing today on who I thought was winning, which is just my honest take on who's winning. I think last time I looked, I'd lost 20 subscribers. People just want their views affirmed. It's not what I'm going to do, but it does work. Kennedy Ivy, sorry, late here. What's your vibe on who will win? Fingernail today for Trump. Fingernail. It's basically tied. Alex Torres, hey Chris, Canadian here. Are Americans generally cognizant of how anxious the rest of the world is about this election? Yes. Mark W, if the Dems claim Donald J. Trump is a real threat to democracy, if this is that serious, why aren't Dems more committed to the cause? More money, more excitement, but I see a ton of criticism. I mean, she's raised and spent over $1 billion. I mean, I think there's plenty of money. More excitement, I don't know. I mean, I think there's some. There is some criticism of her campaign. Democrats always whine to the media. They sort of backstab and second guess more than Republicans do. So I think there's that, but I think she's gotten plenty of support. John says there's huge trouble coming, big trouble. Okay. Sly Fox, hey Chris, this podcast called American Elections Wicked Game gave you a couple plugs. One was particularly funny where you said in the primary said Trump can't win, he knows it and we know it. Is that a plug? Okay. Yes, I always remind people in July 2015, Donald Trump went to Arizona. He said, I like my war heroes not captured. You remember that? It's talking about McCain. And I remember writing, well, that's over. It's a 1 month campaign for Donald Trump. It's over. I will tell you, I learned my lesson in 2016 when Trump won. I do not underestimate that guy, nor should anyone on this. Let's see. Nils Lindenblad. A lot of those early Republicans could be women Republican, could be Republican women voting for Harris. Yes, this is why you can't draw huge conclusions off of early vote. Yes. Let's see. Noah Ule. Hey, Chris, you missed my question. I paid for it. No, I got it. I'm sorry, Noah. I initially missed it, but I didn't miss it. I got it. Mark W. Trump said it's a blowout for him with early voting. Man is cray cray. Yeah, it's not a blowout. It's not. I just don't think it's going to be a blowout either way. Matt Davidson. Thank you for the donation, Matt. Matt says, I think Beyonce is a mistake when it should be Taylor Swift. I'm no Swiftie, but as far as GOTV, Taylor is smarter, plus Beyonce harkens Clinton. Thoughts? Yeah, I don't think there's an undecided voter out there who's like, wait a minute, Beyonce is endorsing Kamala Harris? Okay, I'm for Kamala Harris. Could I see that with Taylor Swift? I could, I think. Yeah. Jeff W277. Two nonpartisan pollsters going too far to make sure they don't underestimate in the GOP vote by oversampling GOP counties. Sure. I mean, of course that could happen. KG, have you seen the Apprentice movie? If so, how'd you like it? I have not seen it yet. I haven't seen a movie in like a year and a half. John Suda, do you think Harris would be better off saying, I changed my mind about fracking as opposed to rambling about her values didn't change? Yes. Just admit, like, look, I now know more about it. I learned more. Back then I didn't know as much. Now I do. They never do that. Len says, I'm a liberal and I believe Trump is going to win. Okay, noted. They call me Blake. How do you get those magic thumbs up during the daily videos? You go like this for 5 seconds. Let me see if it reads my thumb. I think. No, I can't do it. Duh. Juan Manuel Linares Felipe. Amazing name. Greetings from Italy. In your career as a journalist, what was the moment that changed the most your mind? That when you realized something you always thought to be true was actually not, when Donald Trump won. Because in 2016, because everything, money, message, organization, polling, everything pointed to a Hillary victory. And then Trump won. And it made me think maybe the way that I've been thinking about all of this from 2000 to 2016, my whole career about how politics works and what you need to do and might not all hold. So I've tried to keep that open and skeptical approach since then. Great question. KM, Yankees lead the Dodgers in the head-to-head in the World Series 8-3. Last head-to-head was 1981 when Fernando was a rookie. Who's your pick and how many games? Give me Dodgers in 7. I love Shohei. Audrey W., new subscription here, voted in South Florida, plus 10, 5 family members and 5 converts. Keep going, y'all. Audrey, thank you. It is always a good thing to vote. Hold on. Okay. MSU fan, when you're at CNN and the Washington Post, did they ever tell you to make your reporting lean left and more against Trump? No, never. Sorry, I didn't read the whole thing. Seems like your CNN videos were less balanced and more against Trump. No, not at all. Never one time on my kids. Never happened. Let's see. Len, is there any reason to believe any poll in an age where millennials, Gen X, and Gen Z don't answer unknown phone calls, don't read spam emails and texts, and don't click weird links? You know, I don't know. I think it's hard to poll. I think they're doing their best, but I think it's hard for all the reasons you just talked about. The stat I always cite to people is 2 years ago, Nate Cohn, who's the polling guy at the New York Times, gave an interview where he said, in order to get one usable interview for a poll, and you need 800 to 1,000, the person at the call center had to make 2 hours worth of phone calls. That's just not sustainable. DB, thank you for the donation. I'm sorry I missed it earlier. DB says, it was nice seeing you on MSM the other day. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, I was on, well, let's see. I'm doing a lot of News Nation. I'm doing some MSNBC. I'm doing Scripps, Canadian Broadcasting. I did Sunrise, which is the Today Show of Australia the other day. Super fun. Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Craig Skeptic. Chris, I'm a liberal, and while I don't like to hear that Trump has a very slight edge right now, I can't disagree and definitely appreciate your unbiased take. Craig, I wish I could clone you. Because again, I'm not trying to piss you off. But I'm also not trying to make you happy. I'm not trying to tell you what I know you want to hear. Of course, I know that there are a lot of people on the left who want to hear Donald Trump's definitely going to lose. Kamala Harris definitely going to win. I get that. But I just don't see it in the numbers. It doesn't mean it won't happen. It could happen. Absolutely. But I just don't see it. And I hope that that's okay. Let's see. I'm trying to get to people who have not asked questions. Hey, Chris, it's PJ, Michael Smirkanish's video producer. Hello. I love Smirkanish. He's the best. Not as great as TC, his producer, but great. I'm curious if you put paid advertising money into your YouTube channel to grow it. No, I did not. I haven't put any money into my YouTube channel other than I now pay a company to make thumbnails for me. You'll probably have noticed my thumbnails are better. It's not just me being like, anyway, Robert New York. So we need to pay for a question now. No, of course you don't need to pay for a question. Robert, I've answered several of your questions. I'm going through as many as I can. I always say, if people want to donate, I appreciate it because this is my living. I am working to make a lane for nonpartisan, independent, not mainstream media journalists in this world. That's what I'm trying to do. And in order to do that, you know what you need? Money. Because I got to pay my mortgage. So that's why I do it. If you want to give out of the kindness of your heart, great. I wanted to give a little added incentive and bump those questions up. That's the only thing I'm doing. Aaron Stone, Chris, I heard that you are a professional wrestling fan. Oh, I 100% am. Did you have a chance to watch a Netflix Vince documentary? If so, what are your thoughts? Oh my, did I have a chance? So I've been on a lot of flights lately. I flew back from Dallas yesterday. Yes, I have watched, I have not watched all of it. I think I'm 5 episodes in. It's amazing. I had totally forgotten the super uncomfortable Bob Costas Vince McMahon interview after the XFL failed, where McMahon is like up in Costas's grill and like yelling at him. Amazing. Yes. If you have not watched Mr. McMahon, you need to watch it. It's so good. James Lyon. James, hey, thank you for the donation. Hello from Western North Carolina. What are your thoughts with the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, how that may impact my North Carolina local election for governor and attorney general? Honestly, man, I'd like to hear from you. I mean, you're on the ground there. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how much it has been recovered. I don't totally know. So yeah. Let's see. Joe D. Ramirez. I think Chris's face looks like a thumb. Robert New York. Sorry, I asked if you need to pay. LOL, big fan. Oh, if you need to pay. No, you don't need to pay. But yeah, I think Chris's face looks like a thumb. Sorry, I'm scrolling through. Made me laugh. Sam, you donated, but your question wasn't answered. I tried to. P. Colson 1 says, you really are a joy, Chris. Well, thank you so much. I'm going to go tell my wife that you said that. Sorry, I'm keep going. Mike Smith McGall. Chris, just so I can stop focusing, are those 2 patches above your mirror, or is it a weird reflection on the camera? No, those are 2 patches. They're where we tried to hang. Wait, so it's right here and over there. We tried to hang the mirror higher, and there are nail holes there. So we had someone come in today, and they spackled over, and then they're gonna repaint it. Yeah, sorry, Mike. I hope that wasn't too distracting. Let's see. Tanner Wilson heard someone on a recent live stream that the USA will come together for the country's 250th birthday in 26. Don't buy that. We have the World Cup coming to North America, and far more excited for the tourney. Yeah, I mean, people will come together for July 4th, 250th anniversary, and then we'll move on. Yoko Likis, do you think Dem Senate candidates polling way better than Harris is a sign of polls overcompensating Trump voters? Or do you think Senate polls are just fluky for reasons like lower name recognition? I don't know. That's a great question. I just don't know. I think one of the really interesting storylines in this election is why in Nevada, Arizona, and Michigan a little bit are Dem Senate candidates overperforming Harris or Republican Senate candidates underperforming Trump. I don't know. Warnord, do you think Trump has a future in presidential politics if Trump loses this year? Yes, Vance has a future in presidential politics for sure. Let's see. Victory Morningstar. Hi to my second favorite former CNN guy. Why is the election called by the press in the U.S. and not the election counting centers like the rest of the universe? P.S. My first is Jeannie Moose. Jeannie is the best. That's fair. I can be second to her. There's an election consortium of all the big media companies, CNN, ABC, Reuters, all those companies, and they do the calling. That's just how it's always worked. I don't know. Let's see. Sam says Taylor is playing New Orleans tonight. Oh, interesting. KM, hi Chris, great live stream as usual. Let's take the political temperature down. Next week, your live stream should be exclusively about sports. It'll help us all decompress a little. I mean, I could do a live stream about sports, but I don't think we should do that 1 week before the election. Harrison and Derek show. Thank you for the donation. I think you might burn yourself out with all the promises and work you're doing. What's your long-term plan for work-life balance? Good question. Tri-Cities Living, thank you. Do you know a solid place to observe data as it comes in? I particularly want to watch the Senate as is more important in many ways. AP, so Associated Press, New York Times, Politico, all those sites or CNN, all those sites will do all that stuff in one place. Portal Player says, Trump stunned me too in 2016. Yeah, it stunned a lot of people. Let's see. Airplane mode. Are there any House of Representatives seats you're keeping an eye on? There's 2 seats in Iowa that I think are interesting, the first and the third. There's a couple seats on Long Island. There's some seats in California. I'll go through that on my Substack at some point between now and the election. So go over there. Like I said, all of the content on my Substack is free between now and the election. So go over there, subscribe. I mean, ideally you subscribe and pay $6 a month, $60 a year. But if you can't, go there and read it. Sam, thanks for the donation, Sam. My question was, as an A&M fan, had you thought of becoming a college football coach? If you're bad, they'll just pay you $75 million to go away. The Jimbo Fisher thing is incredible, isn't it, Sam? Holy moly. Let's see. Gabriel Conde. Hey, Chris, do you think John Tester in Montana is toast? I'm doing a project on the Senate race for class, and I saw the Cook Political Report move the race from likely to lean Republican. No, they moved the race from toss-up to lean Republican. And yes, I think he's probably going to lose, and here's why. Donald Trump's going to win Montana by at least 15. He won it by 16 last time. The last poll I saw, he was up 17. It's going to be really, really, really hard to overcome that if you're John Tester. So, yeah, I think he's going to lose. Nick says, I guess Alan Lichtman might be wrong for the first time ever. All right. Yes, I know people like Alan Lichtman. I know Democrats are thrilled that he picked Kamala Harris. I have talked to him. I've interviewed him. I've made videos about him. Alan Lichtman's prediction is subjective, just like my prediction. Yeah. Mike Hall Rave. How do you explain? Thank you for the donation. How do you explain the popularity of Trump despite everything that has been thrown his way? Are voters giving the finger to the establishment? Yeah, I think so. And I think that people are sort of sick and tired. They just want something radically different, and he's something radically different. And yes, they are giving the middle finger to the establishment. Jay, thank you for the donation. Jay asks, do you think the Harris campaign regrets not picking Josh Shapiro as VP to secure PA and similar blue wall states? I think so. I mean, I know people are very into Tim Walz, but I think Shapiro would have been the better choice. I said that at the time, and I'm saying it now. MSU fan, can you do a live stream about sports after the election? Absolutely. Bruno the Destroyer, what's the best college major to go into the field that you're in? So I was an English major. I don't think that's the best major. I would say history. I mean, journalism, obviously, that's a good one. History, if you're not a journalism major, history or political science. Brooklyn Lou the Skeptic, do you think that Harris has a real chance in Florida or Texas? No. I think she's going to lose both. I think Texas will be closer than Florida, but I think she's going to lose both. Clads. Hey, Chris, is it a bad move for Harris not to go on Joe Rogan? When Bernie went on, a bunch of center and right of center people liked him a lot more afterwards. Yeah. I mean, if I were her, I would do it because why not, honestly? But I don't know if it's, again, there's a tendency at the end of these races to make mountains out of molehills. I think that's probably a molehill. Brendan Fleming. Brendan, thank you for the donation. What will happen post-election if the polls are off and Kamala wins? Will we see another January 6th? It worries me. It absolutely worries me. If Kamala wins overwhelmingly, if she wins the popular vote by 4% or 5% and she wins the electoral college with 330, it does worry me a little bit because I think the polling is not suggesting that. All the polling we have basically says it's tied or close to tied, and I worry about that. I mean, I worry about it even if the polling is right and Kamala Harris wins narrowly, but I really worry about it in that scenario. Let's see. KM, in one of your videos earlier this week, you had a pillow, I think, with your face on it just behind you toward the bottom of the shelf. Let's see it. Yeah. There it is. This is me on Meet the Press. Somebody sent me this. It says, just the worst. This watch is a Swatch. Old school. That's how I roll. Put this right here with me. Few more. Nick, if I didn't see any polls, I would think Kamala is winning big based on other factors. What are those other factors? I'm super interested in knowing. Missile 18, you do a great job, Chris, and we appreciate you. I appreciate you. Richard Starkweather, not sure if you covered my question from earlier. There's a report about a landslide for either candidate. If Kamala wins in one, what would be the impact on Republicans? What should be the impact on Republicans if Kamala wins in a landslide is they have a hard look at whether Donald Trump has been a good thing or a bad thing for the party. I would say he's been a bad thing for the party. But what I think would happen is Donald Trump will say it was stolen from him and the polls were lies, and a lot of people would believe him. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just trying to go through. Fabian Tigi, Chris, the 30 right-wing pollsters released about 80 or so polls in the last week. Does that skew the polls? I know this is a big talking point. Here's what I would recommend to you. Go to the Washington Post swing state polling averages. Just type Washington Post swing state polling averages into Google. They screen out all but the highest quality polling. So if you want just like polls that pollsters think are good, averaged, go there. That's what I would recommend. Let's see. Sorry, I'm keeping going here, trying to fit them in. Portal player, Chris, how can Harris be tied? Stock market is record high, unemployment is low, crime is low, things seem to be on our side. Grocery prices, housing affordability, people just not being happy with the border situation. I think that's how. But I agree. There's a lot of sort of like economic and environmental factors that you would think would favor her. But Fabian Tigi, Kamala is winning with 318 seats. I assume you mean 318 electoral votes. Okay, good. Billy D and the Hoodoos. Chris, why do so many news outlets and people in general treat Trump's candidacy as if it's normal? I don't think news outlets do. I mean, somebody said to me, why didn't news outlets cover John Kelly's comments about Trump? I was like, what planet were you on? I mean, there were hundreds of stories about that. I made 3 videos about it. I think the question that a lot of people are asking, just put this here. I think the question that a lot of people are asking is why doesn't that information change people's minds? And that's different than why is the media reporting on it? That's a human nature psychology question. So yeah. Minnesota and whatnot said we need Cillizza pillows available as fan merch. Okay, but they can't say just the worst on the bottom. Chauncey Hayworth, like and subscribe to Chris. Yes, like and subscribe. We're at 201. Come on, we need more people. Sam says we're all Cillizza fans today. That makes me laugh. I'm gonna lean on my pillow. Fabian Tagi says you look like a gangster on that pillow. Gangsta. I was trying to recreate my look. Portal player, Chris, thanks for taking my question. No problem. And Deal Natuli. Hi, Chris. Why don't the two parties agree to shorten the election process? Americans must be so tired by now. This is such an anomaly in international elections. Agree. Though that would be bad for Chris Cillizza's business if they shorten the election season. But yes, I agree. And it is anomalous. Clarence Peterson says Alan Lichtman was wrong about 2000. It wouldn't be the first time ever. Correct. He's got 9 of the last 10 correct. Dark Flare GC, what's your favorite city? I mean, I love DC, nation's capital, monuments, beautiful. Where else do I really like? Love St. Paul and Minneapolis, Minnesota. Those are great. Let's see. Sam says Lichtman was wrong in 2000, but won't admit it. And he got 2016 wrong, said Trump would win the popular vote. Right. Good point. I would urge people who have questions or wonders about Alan Lichtman, go type in Alan Lichtman and The Atlantic magazine. There's a good piece in there. Rob Jackson, how did you win that Emmy behind you? It's a regional Emmy for a show we did at the Washington Post. Warnord, when do these streams last until typically? I'm about out because I got to do something at 2 Eastern. So usually an hour. Patrick Murray says Lichtman didn't get 2000 wrong. Gore won. Okay. Joe D. Ramirez, just as a reminder, Joe D. Ramirez said that my face looks like a thumb. I think when stories are covered next to each other, Trump liking Nazis is a 10 on the Richter scale. Harris discussing taxation is a 1, but they're given the same amount of time. That's fair enough. M. Kundera, is that Milan Kundera of The Unbearable Lightness of Being? Lovely to have you. Where is the Al Gore Presidential Museum located? That's a good one. Dan Meyer, The Undertaker and Kane endorsed Trump. Dave Bautista and McFoley endorsed Harris. Who will Stone Cold and The Rock end up endorsing? There's a lot of great Stone Cold and The Rock stuff in the Mr. McMahon doc. So if you want more of that, you should watch it. They have an interview with Austin and an interview with Dwayne. Okay. All right. That's all I got time for. Me and my pillow say goodbye. As always, please like and subscribe to this video and to my channel. Trying to get to 50,000 by election day. That's November 5th, 11 days from now. We need a surge, people. We need a surge. But do it for the guy on the pillow. Look at him. He's look at him. All right, everybody. Take care of yourselves. Have a wonderful day and weekend. I will be back Monday through Thursday again, making daily. I've made 2 videos twice in the past week, 2 daily videos a day. I'm not going to promise I'm going to continue to do that, but I will try my hardest. Thank you all. If you donated to me, it means a ton from the bottom of my heart. Jody Ramirez says, I meant the thumb comment with love. All right, everybody, take care of yourselves. I'll see you on the other side. Be well.